There is a moment in every great friendship where you find out exactly what it was worth. Not when things are easy. Not when the road is smooth and the cheers are loud and the belts are gleaming under the spotlight. No, you find out what a friendship is worth in the moment when everything is on the line, when one path leads to glory and the other leads to heartbreak, and only one person gets to walk through that door. And on this week's Monday Night Raw, in front of thousands of stunned fans inside that arena and millions more watching at home on Netflix, Raquel Rodriguez found out exactly what her friendship with Liv Morgan was worth. The answer? Not a single thing. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact. I'm so glad you're here, because what we are about to break down for you today is not just a WWE angle. This is a story years in the making. This is a betrayal that has been marinating in jealousy, ambition, and quiet resentment for longer than most people realized. And when it finally erupted on Raw, it didn't just shake the women's division, it sent a fault line running all the way through the Judgment Day itself. So sit down, buckle in, and let's go all the way back to where this fire was actually lit. To understand what happened on Raw, you have to understand what these two women meant to each other, or at least what we all thought they meant to each other. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. Big Mami Cool and the Miracle Kid. They have been side by side through some of the most chaotic, dramatic, and extraordinary stretches in recent WWE Women's Tag Team history. For Tag Team Championship reigns. 4. That's not a partnership built on convenience, or at least, that's what we thought. They bled together, they won together, they lost together, and when Raquel returned from injury to stand in Liv's corner at Bad Blood, sliding back under those lights to protect her best friend, the entire arena lost their minds. This was loyalty personified. This was a bond forged in fire. Or so we thought. Because the truth, as we now know it, is far more complicated. The seeds of this betrayal weren't planted last Monday. They weren't planted at the Royal Rumble in Riyadh either, though that's where they first broke the surface and bloomed into something ugly. No, if you go back and really watch the tape, you can see the cracks forming in December. A thrown-together miscommunication here, a sidelong glance there, Morgan's jaw tightening ever so slightly when Raquel's name was mentioned in connection with a Women's World Championship opportunity. You could see it if you were looking closely enough. Most people weren't looking closely enough. We were so caught up in the spectacle of the Judgment Day's dominance that we missed the fault lines spreading beneath their feet. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble, because that is ground zero for everything that followed. There were 30 women in that match. 30 women with dreams, with hunger, with a WrestleMania moment dangling in front of them like a golden carrot. And as the match wore on, one by one the field thinned. And in one of the most genuinely electric moments of the night, it was Raquel Rodriguez, the big, powerful, unstoppable Raquel Rodriguez, who grabbed Rhea Ripley, that mountain of menace and fury, and hurled her up and over the top rope to eliminate her. The crowd erupted. Raquel spun around, arms wide, face lit up like she was on top of the world. The Final Four. She was in the Final Four. One more elimination away from a guaranteed WrestleMania title shot. She never saw it coming. Because while Raquel was celebrating, perched on the middle rope with her arms raised and her eyes scanning the crowd, Liv Morgan was right behind her. Her partner. Her stablemate. The woman who called her family. And without a moment's hesitation, with cold, calculating efficiency, Liv Morgan grabbed those long legs and flipped Raquel Rodriguez up and over the rope. And just like that, the biggest moment of Raquel's career evaporated. She hit the floor. The look on her face said everything words couldn't. Confusion first. Then disbelief. Then something that looked a whole lot like devastation. Liv Morgan went on to win the Royal Rumble. She punched her ticket to WrestleMania 42. And when she was asked about what she'd done to her partner, she smiled that infuriating smile and said, "And I need you to really sit with this. I know Raquel isn't selfish. She already has a title shot. Now we both have opportunities. She's not going to be mad at me." She said it like it was obvious. Like it was perfectly reasonable. Like eliminating your best friend from the biggest match of the year in the cruelest possible way was just business. Just competition. Nothing personal. Now I want you to imagine being Raquel Rodriguez in that moment. You just had your Cinderella moment ripped from your hands by the person you trusted most. And then, almost immediately, that person goes on camera and tells the world that you're not going to be upset about it because you're not selfish. She didn't even give Raquel the dignity of an apology. She just assumed. She assumed the friendship was sturdy enough to absorb a knife in the back, and then she moved on to planning her WrestleMania moment without a second thought. But here's where the story gets even more layered. Because in the immediate aftermath, Raquel went out of her way to say the right things publicly. She went on record saying that yes, the Royal Rumble is every woman for herself, that Liv saw an opportunity and she took it, and that there were no hard feelings. She was gracious. She was measured. She was the bigger person by about every metric imaginable. And on the surface, it looked like the partnership might actually survive this. Then came Raw. On the episode of Raw following the Royal Rumble, the tension that had been simmering came roaring to the surface in a way that couldn't be papered over with a press conference answer or a well-crafted Instagram post. Raquel Rodriguez confronted Liv Morgan on camera, face to face, inside that ring. And what followed was one of the most emotionally charged segments Raw has produced in recent memory. Because this wasn't a scripted villain doing villain things. This was a woman standing across from someone she loved, trying to understand how it all went wrong. Liv, to her credit, and I use the word credit very loosely here, came out with her trademark unflappable confidence intact. She had an explanation ready. She had her rationale polished and prepared. Raquel already had a title shot. Now they both had opportunities. The Judgment Day was stronger for it. This was a win for the faction. It was almost impressive, honestly, watching someone take something that was objectively selfish and retail it as an act of loyalty to the group. But Raquel wasn't buying it. And neither were the fans. You could hear it in that arena, the buzz of people who had been emotionally invested in this storyline whispering to each other, leaning over to their friends, asking the same question: is this the moment? Is this finally the moment where Big Mami Cool says enough is enough? And then Raw delivered its gut punch. Because just when it seemed like the confrontation might cool down and the two women might find some uneasy peace, Raquel Rodriguez in front of God, the WWE Universe, and every camera in that building turned. And not the way the fans expected. This wasn't a clean-cut face turn where Raquel walks away from the villains and the crowd cheers her redemption. This was something far more complicated, far more human, and in many ways far more devastating. Because what Raquel did wasn't just walk away from Liv Morgan. She attacked her. The moment it happened, the arena noise shifted in that way it only does when something real and something unexpected collides. It's a sound you can't manufacture. It's the sound of an entire building processing a betrayal in real time. Raquel, who had spent months standing in Liv's corner, who had sacrificed her own momentum and her own spotlight again and again for the good of the Judgment Day, finally snapped. And when she did, every single thing she had held back came out with the fury of someone who had been quietly swallowing their frustration for far too long. Here's what makes this moment so extraordinary, though. It's not just the physical act of it. It's the context. Raquel Rodriguez has been knocking on the door of the Women's World Championship for what feels like forever. Match after match against Stephanie Vacher, and let's give Vacher all her flowers here, because she has been an absolutely iron-willed champion match after match. Raquel has come so agonizingly close and walked away empty-handed every single time. She has been the nearly woman of the Raw Women's division. And every time she got back up and tried again, Liv Morgan was there, at ringside, cheering her on, telling the world what a great partner she was. And we all believed it. We all bought in. But now, standing in that ring, looking at Liv Morgan with everything stripped away, no faction loyalty, no tag team obligations, no performance of sisterhood for the cameras, Raquel Rodriguez finally let herself feel the full weight of what had been done to her. And if you watched her face in those moments before the explosion, you could see it all. The hurt. The anger, the grief of a friendship she now understood was never quite what she thought it was. And the crowd listen. Wrestling fans are complicated. They have seen every trick in the book. They have been manipulated and surprised and swerved so many times that a certain healthy skepticism becomes second nature. But this crowd was not skeptical. This crowd was on its feet, because they recognized something authentic when they saw it. This wasn't just a storyline beat. This was Raquel Rodriguez saying, I have given everything to this partnership, and I deserve more than this. Now let's zoom out for a second and look at what this means for the Judgment Day as a whole, because the implications here are enormous. This faction has been teetering on the edge of collapse for a long time. The internal politics of the Judgment Day have always been one of the most genuinely interesting ongoing storylines in WWE. You have massive egos, overlapping ambitions, and a power dynamic that was never quite as stable as they wanted you to believe. Finn Balor, Dominik Mysterio, JD McDonough, Roxanne Perez, every one of these people has their own agenda. And now, with Liv Morgan holding a WrestleMania title shot and Raquel Rodriguez having just very publicly exploded in her direction, the question of whether this faction can survive the season is more urgent than ever. The smart money says no. And honestly, that might be the best thing that ever happened to Raquel Rodriguez's singles career. Because here's the thing about Big Mami Cool that sometimes gets lost in the tag team narrative: this woman is generationally gifted. She is 6 feet tall, she is a walking highlight reel, and when she is unleashed without the constraints of being someone's loyal sidekick, she is one of the most compelling figures in the entire women's division. A fully unshackled, fully motivated, burn-it-all-down Raquel Rodriguez is a different animal entirely from the Raquel who stood quietly at ringside while Liv took the spotlight. And if this moment is the catalyst for that version of Raquel to emerge, then the betrayal, as painful as it was, might ultimately be the best thing that ever happened to her. Meanwhile, Liv Morgan walks into WrestleMania 42 carrying a guaranteed title shot and zero regrets. And that is fascinating in its own right. Because Liv has always been a character who operates by her own internal logic, and within that logic, everything she has done makes perfect sense. She didn't see the Royal Rumble elimination as a betrayal. She saw it as two friends who both found their opportunity on the same night. The fact that one of them didn't see it that way is, in Liv's mind, Raquel's emotional limitation, not her moral failure. That is the kind of villain, and yes, she is very much the villain of this story, that makes compelling television. She's not evil for evil's sake. She genuinely believes in her own righteousness. And there is nothing more dangerous in professional wrestling than someone who cannot be talked out of their own narrative. So where does this all go? Here's the landscape as it stands right now. Liv Morgan is headed to WrestleMania with a title shot, having set her sights on Women's World Champion Stephanie Vacher. Raquel Rodriguez, her heart raw and her patience finally exhausted, is unmoored from the faction that defined her recent career. And between those two women, in that charged space where a long friendship just went up in flames, there is the potential for one of the most emotionally resonant WrestleMania programs the women's division has produced in years. Imagine that match. Imagine these two women, who know each other more deeply than almost any other rivals in that locker room, standing across the ring from each other on the grandest stage in the business. Imagine the silence before the bell rings, the weight of everything that passed between them sitting heavy in the air. Imagine the crowd, who watched this friendship dissolve in real time, pouring every ounce of that emotional investment into those 2 hours. That is a WrestleMania moment. That is the kind of match that lives in people's memories long after the final card has been cleared and the arena lights have gone dark. And here's the thing: we are on the road to WrestleMania right now. Every episode of Raw from here until that weekend in Las Vegas is a stepping stone. Every segment, every confrontation, every sidelong glance between these two women is building towards something. And after what we witnessed on Raw, after the explosion that rocked the Judgment Day and sent shockwaves through the entire women's division, the anticipation is absolutely electric. Raquel Rodriguez walked into Raw this week as a woman who was still trying to convince herself that everything was fine. She walked out as something entirely different. She walked out as a woman with nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. And in professional wrestling, that is the most dangerous version of any competitor you will ever encounter. Liv Morgan won the Royal Rumble. She wrapped herself in confetti and celebrated with the smug satisfaction of someone who always knew this was how it was going to go. But she may have done so at a cost she hasn't fully calculated yet. Because Raquel Rodriguez is now free. Free of the obligations, free of the performance of loyalty, free of the quiet diminishment that comes with being someone else's supporting cast. And a free Raquel Rodriguez, fired up by genuine emotion, pointed directly at the woman who triggered all of this? That is a problem. That is a very big problem for Liv Morgan and for anyone else standing between Big Mami Cool and the championship gold that has eluded her for so long. The women's division on Raw has never felt more alive. The story of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez has never felt more real, more raw, or more consequential. And we are just getting started. If this video fired you up the way writing it fired me up, do me a favor and drop a like right now. It takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps more people find this content. Tell me in the comments, are you on Team Raquel, or do you think Liv Morgan had every right to make her move in that Royal Rumble? And if you're not already subscribed to Wrestling Impact, hit that button so you never miss a single breakdown of the moments that matter most. WrestleMania season is heating up, and I promise you we are just getting to the good part.